So funny story. My name used to be Saint Leon, and
Yeah.
now it's Saint Reynolds because when I got married, I combined my last name with my partner's last name.
Nice.
Yeah, so it used to be Saint Leon. So she used to say Street Leon.
Nah. I was speaking to her about it a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, guess who I've got to appear on I Want to Believe? And she went through three other people. I was like, no, do you remember Tristan? And without missing a beat, she goes, oh, Tristan Street Leon. I was like, it's actually Tristan Street Reynolds. I was like, oh shit, no, it's actually Tristan St Reynolds. Fuck, I'm even fucking it up now. She's like, see, that's my impact. Hi, friends and fans. Welcome back to I Want to Believe. Each episode, a special guest and I will review viral paranormal videos and give our opinions on whether it's real or if it can be debunked. Today, my special guest co-host is Tristan St Reynolds. How are you, Tristan?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. It says Shane on the screen, I think, but that's my partner's. But yeah, I'm great.
All good, all good. We'll just pretend for dramatic effect for this video that Shane is a spirit in the room with you for the moment. Now, for those who may not know you, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, actually, really funny. I have been friends with you on Facebook for a long time, um, but I also do readings. So when you had this paranormal thing coming on, I thought, oh, that's great. I do readings. I deal with the paranormal quite a lot in that sense. Because you feel energy and all of that. And I'm a yoga teacher. I've got my own oracle deck coming out. So I do deal with a lot of spiritual stuff anyway. Not in like a crazy schizophrenic way or anything, but yeah. So it's been around me my whole life. So this is great.
Nice, nice. So is it safe to say that you're definitely a believer of the paranormal, or would you consider yourself more of a skeptic?
Oh, I'm definitely a believer. I've had some experiences.
Nice, nice. Well, I've rounded up some videos from YouTube and TikTok for us to review, so let's get into some ooky spooky videos. This was captured of two cats, one that you can see on the bed, the other one's just hiding in another room. Something has disturbed these cats, and 10 seconds into this video, you'll notice just where this doorway is that there seems to be a figure that just walks past. So I'll press play. So as you can see, the cat's quite alert. Something has walked past here.
There is a shadow though. I saw a shadow.
And now this other cat has just seen it, trying to figure out what's happening. But I'll just go back. So my first thoughts were it was actually a person that was walking past a different room and that their shadow was just being projected onto the wall. But, cats usually detect when it's their owners in the house, nothing bothers them unless they want food. But yeah, I find this quite freaky.
I mean, it could be a break-in.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know, there was the shadow there, and so that made me think it was physically a person.
Yeah, it's. I'm still trying to debunk this one, from a skeptical point of view. I think, maybe this is just a projection of a shadow. Maybe it's like a trick done by someone to try and get more views on YouTube, or even just someone trying to become like internet famous, if you like. But there's been no other interviews with the people who captured this footage. There's been no follow-up videos. It's just been this one upload and no other information. So I'm not sure what to think.
So you're a skeptic, is that right?
So in the first episode, I stated that I was on the border between believing in the paranormal and also this like being a skeptic, because I've had plenty of paranormal experiences, but I feel like I'm always trying to find a logical explanation for each experience I've had. But the more that I do these videos, the more that I realize actually I'm more of a full believer than I expected.
See, because I'm a believer, but I didn't know about that video there, to be
Yeah.
honest. I don't know about that one.
It's if I had to give like a final decision, I'm gonna say that this one can be explained by someone else walking in another room. Could be a break-in, could be the cat's owners, could be anyone else that may be visiting at the time, but it's not enough for me to be like, yes, this is a paranormal video.
Yeah, no, that one doesn't get me either, so all good.
It's a no for us. I don't know about this one. This one feels quite fake to me as well. I have so many questions. So this was filmed on a plane, an empty plane. No one allegedly was on it. There's no other information to it, just that this person was filming on the plane for some reason, had his phone out, but it just looks too much like as if it's a scene from a horror movie, like The Grudge or Rings or any, you know, Japanese horror movie, just because of this figure that you will see in a couple of seconds towards the end of the plane. So there seems to be some figure that just pops in from the top left corner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Then the guy just runs off, but it's never explained why he's on the plane in the first place.
So the plane's empty.
Yeah,
So some guy's just on a plane filming and it's empty.
yeah, it doesn't say whether he's like a pilot or if he's one of the what do you call it? Stewardesses, flight attendants. And I just find it very suspicious. What I get from this is that there's probably someone hiding like on top of a box in the corner out of view, and they're just like peeking around to make this look like a ghost video.
Hmm. So I mean, I can't see the hair, but I'm seeing like a shadow sort of thing.
Hmm.
But in saying that, well, I didn't realize you can't film on a plane. So,
It's more of an unspoken rule. Like if it's just a regular run of the mill tourist or whatnot, just on a plane, like taking selfies or taking photos out of the window for Instagram or Snapchat or whatnot, that's okay. But if you're on a plane by yourself, and you're taking photos, it's going to look very suspicious.
hmm.
But there's been no other information as to whether maybe the pilots ordered investigation, maybe they thought there was a terrorist on board or something. That's why they were filming it. But also, why would they, if this is a human, why would they be on a plane during nighttime in the dark?
Are you talking about the chick from The Ring when you said,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was just like, who's that? Is that a friend of yours? No, but I can see what you're saying now. I was like, oh, it looks like the chick from The Ring, but I didn't know that was her name. It could be an advertisement for The Ring, or she could be
Mm.
real.
That's interesting too. In one of the sequels that I don't think anyone ever watched, there's a part where the opening sequence features Samara coming out of the what do you call it, like the little TVs on the back of airplane seats, and somehow she's supposed to come out of a small TV. But yeah, that movie was god stupid.
This is just it's Samara, right? Samara on a plane instead of snakes on a plane. That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Like I'm just waiting for Samuel L. Jackson to be like, I'm sick of these motherfucking ghost girls on this motherfucking plane. But actually, speaking of like viral marketing stunts and whatnot, this was marketed as being a real genuine video, but straight away, this is clearly fake. This is a marketing stunt. I mean, it's uploaded to Paramount Pictures UK for a start, so with the title "Captured Footage on CCTV of Paranormal Activity." But if you look closely, you'll be able to see the reflections of crew members, camera operators. But I'll play it for you anyway. It's a bit of a fun video.
It ruined it for me knowing it's from Paramount. That's all right. We'll see.
It screams fake to me.
Devastating. I mean, The fact that it says Paramount's, I mean, really selling it for me as not real, which is sad because I'm a believer and I want to see something scary. And I'm not
Like,
getting the vibe that it's, I'm not getting the vibe that it's kind of, real or whatever.
yeah. I remember when this video was first uploaded back in 2011 or 2012, and all the comments were like, "Oh my God, this is so scary. This is so real." And I was watching it being like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, that one was 100% no. I mean, the plane one was more believable for me than that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Oh, this is going to be good.
So this one, actually, fun fact, I've stolen this footage for a few other what do you call it, like pre-hype projects I was doing, like this anthology horror movie called Nightmare. So this one's quite popular. I feel like this has been seen on Facebook quite a few different times. It's also been uploaded to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, every single app. But this is supposed to be proof of a haunting in a specific office in the UK. But I haven't actually seen any other interviews with like whoever owns this office building or space. No one's come forward to be like, oh, I've experienced this before. It seems like this CCTV footage was just sent to multiple news sources like the Daily Mail, the Telegraph in the UK. It made its way onto Sunrise in Australia, but nothing else has been provided.
So this is multiple rooms, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the UK is very spiritual. They have a lot of like, Glastonbury and all those sorts of places. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, I could believe that because it wasn't so extreme either.
Yeah.
This extreme, oh my God, everything's exploding. Look at the computers. So for me, I feel like that one could, and I hope nobody comes for me for this, but I feel like that one could actually be something.
Yeah.
I believe that one because it's not over the top. It's not dramatic. It's not like, oh my God, look at me. And I didn't see any strings on it either. But I mean, I was just fascinated by the fact that the chair was moving. We've got the male mind. It was like, oh my God, something's happening.
And like, I feel like if this was going to be a fake video, there'd be something else like monitors would flash on or the TV would fall down.
They'd be like making a point of it. They'd be like, oh, this is happening, look. And you'd be like, no, it's not.
This one's a bit of a weird one. So it is quite long. It goes for 2 minutes, but I'm just going to show you the 15 seconds, which actually highlights some kind of spooky activity. But in short, this security guard was hearing noises during wherever this was filmed. He goes around multiple different areas, staircases. He was hearing the voice of a little girl that was laughing, playing tricks, but also loud banging on doors, which aren't recorded in this segment. But about 10 seconds into this video, you'll see what looks like a shadow figure just walk across the room, fly across the room. So I'll just play it for you.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. It was like, do you say it sounded like someone was laughing or wanting to play or something? Is that what you said before?
Yeah, like he was hearing the voice of like a little girl laughing, but then he was also hearing loud bangs on the doors around other rooms he was looking in.
Yeah, so because that gives me the vibe of like when you see in the movies, but like more of a realistic thing of what it could be based off of where there's like the little girl or the child and they're like, yeah, you want to play,
Yeah,
and then they and then they like throw a ball, they hit something because they're trying to play.
yeah.
That figure going across, I feel could be something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just want to
I
play. They just want a good time. That's all.
yeah.
That's all
And
it
I
is.
mean, from a technical perspective, I went through each frame by frame. I downloaded this video, I put it into my editing software, I upped the brightness, decreased the contrast, tried to apply similar effects to mirror this same shape. But there's no way that this could have been recreated, especially considering that this was filmed on what I assume to be an iPhone or some kind of smartphone or even like a camcorder or whatnot, but this can't be recreated. So to me, this is the most genuine out of all the videos we've seen so far.
Well, the research sounds like it was really intense too. I wouldn't do all that. I'd just go, it's real.
Like, I was like, I know if I put this type of video content out, there's going to be someone in the comments being like, oh, I put it into my video editing software and I up the brightness. Here's where you can see the tracking marks or whatnot. But this one, like, couldn't recreate it. I tried doing the same shape. I tried doing it keyframe by keyframe. Even then, it looks so obvious that this was a digital effect that I added. Whereas this one, I mean, you can even see through the shadow at some points. So,
What's the shape that you would say that it is out of curiosity?
so I took it from, I think it was this one, because to me, I thought it was wearing like a veil.
Yeah.
So I got the impression that this was like a little girl or a teenage girl, just given the height. And I thought maybe she was wearing like old-fashioned clothing from maybe like the early 1900s.
See, that's why it's not working, because you're not wearing old-fashioned clothing when you're recreating it.
I'll just like put that into my Photoshop's.
Note that in. Wear old-time dress. That'll help. No, I think that one's real.
Yeah, same. It's interesting. I've said this on almost every other episode, but you know, back in 2006, 2007, when YouTube was starting to take off and be a big thing, there were numerous ghost videos, there were numerous uploads around being like proof of the paranormal, which were a lot more believable. Now, if you type in like real ghost or real paranormal caught on tape, it's the most fake footage. It's clearly done for a comedic effect for like a TikTok or for an Instagram, or and you know, I'm guilty of doing this exact same thing with this video series, but it's almost always like compilations of like the top 5 or top 10 ghost videos caught on tape. But you know, it's just frustrating because like I just want to find the original video for this. So it's hard to come by.
If they do a TikTok, like, isn't TikToking dancing and stuff? I don't know. I've TikToked once in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
None
can't
of
do
these people
the
are
dance
dancing.
challenges.
No, I did one TikTok for a Donut King advertisement, and I mean, I ruined that. So I don't know if someone could TikTok a ghost that well.
Hmm. Now I'm interested in this Donut King commercial.
It's not out yet, the donuts with the TikTok. So they hold the donuts and they hold them. Where's the camera on that thing? They hold the donut to the camera like that. And then the person does like the donut right in, and then it comes out and it's a different person. And I said, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I said, watch me. I said, watch me fuck this up. So what did I do? I fucked it up. So, anyways, I don't know about TikToking a ghost. This is real, as far as I'm concerned, this one.
No, same here. Talk about some spooky videos. I feel like 3 of those videos were definitely fake. The other 2, 100% real. But interestingly, I feel like I've moved further left towards true believer as opposed to the 3 videos putting me on the skepticism side. I feel like I've got a good gauge now of what's paranormal versus what's being professionally filmed, edited for TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, etc. And you know, with my own paranormal experiences, I feel like I just haven't addressed them enough. I've never taken them as seriously. So I'm curious to know, Tristan, have you had any paranormal experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has to some degree. It's whether or not they recognize it as a paranormal experience. I've had a few notable ones. One in London, it was actually Glastonbury. I mentioned that earlier. So we went to Glastonbury, my partner and I, and there was like, you know how you hear those stories about like sleep paralysis or whatever? And I get these funny feelings and vibes, right? Because I do readings sometimes on a Tuesday, for example. But I get these vibes, and I was like, oh, something's going on with Glastonbury, you know. And we were at this end of the street, and it turned out there was a graveyard not far from there. And so I'd gone out, and I was like, whatever. And came back, and I'd gone to get Chinese, and my partner's there, and he was like, was like, oh, I was asleep and then I couldn't move. And I was like, what do you mean you couldn't move? And then I did that whole, you know how like you salt the windows and the doors and everything and just went all crazy and skeptical and, um, not skeptical, what's the word? Extreme about it. And
Yeah.
then another really big experience I had. So I don't know if you know much about Gold Coast. There's like the suburb of the Mullendina tunnels are in Mullendina, and there's supposed to be like an old railway track.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple of events where I had a friend, and they were like, "Oh, you know, the Mullendina tunnels is so scary," and I just was like, "Oh yeah, whatever." You know, this was back when I was a bit younger, and I was getting into all this sort of stuff, you know, new like yoga teaching and everything. And I had weird events and experiences where like I would touch someone and then I'd feel like really uncomfortable, like I was being, you know, something was happening to me or something had happened, and usually it would mean something had happened to that person. But so I was still a little bit skeptical. I was like, oh, you know, I'm just getting these weird feelings. It's all in my head. And then my friend wanted to go to these tunnels, and one of them was a girl, and we went there. And the next day, I didn't get out of the car. She had a miscarriage, but then I went back there a couple of months later with some other friends. So I had a friend, Troy, and then this other friends that were a couple, and one of them was really skeptical. I think he was from like another country where they're sort of like Hispanic or something. So there's, you know, spirituality is really big over there.
Yeah.
Um, and so they were really funny about spirits and things. And they said, I remember we pulled up and Troy turns to me and says, oh, don't say anything about spirits because I can't remember the other guy's name. He wouldn't go down there or something. And I went, oh, why would I say that? But he never remembered saying that after the event when we spoke about it, because we were in the area where the Mollendina Tunnels is, and it's like an abandoned tunnel. People go down there, you know. Apparently during Halloween they do sacrifices and things. It's all kinds of weird stuff has happened there. Apparently, you know, I've never seen it, or nor have I done it. But I went there and I felt really uncomfortable. And so we got out of the car and it was really cold, and it was around those hours that are meant to be like the really spiritual hours. I don't know if it's like the witching hour or whatever. It's like really between like your 12 a.m., sort of those weird hours. And they're all walking down this path. And I just stopped. I just couldn't walk any further. I physically could not step forward. And then I could step side to side, but I couldn't go any closer to the tunnel. And they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Come on. You know, because we're all like 18 and stuff. And I go, I just can't. I physically can't. And they thought I was like pretending. And then one of my friends goes, oh, I don't believe in any of that stuff. And then he got really scared and weird. And then one of the guys made a joke about dead bodies in the trunk of a car. And then all of a sudden, one of them got really angry for no reason. And a psychologist once said, oh, you had a shared hallucination. And I was like, well, we didn't do drugs or anything. So we get back into the car, everyone's sort of freaking out. My phone's on, you know, half battery, and then it just suddenly dies. We're in the car, it's cold. There's a story. One of them goes, oh, I feel like something's in the car with us. And, you know, they started freaking out. And then one of the guys kind of passed out, which was strange. And I didn't know at the time if it was, you know, a genuine or if he was joking around. And then, yeah, so then this happened, and then we went to drive away. And then the one guy that said he didn't believe in any of that stuff goes, everyone stop. And he's like, we can't go any further. And I was like, yeah, we can't, you know, because it felt like there was something in the car still, like it had been brought from the tunnel area to the car. And I remembered that I heard like someone crying or asking for help. And I know that sounds really weird, like, you know, psychosis or something, but it's not. And then one of the guys said that he reckoned he saw a girl, but there was no girl there, like no one else saw her. You know what I mean? So then, anyways, we went back to where the tunnel was, and then, you know, we waited for a bit, and then it felt like it was all good to go. And we dropped the two guys off, and Troy was driving me back to my house. And we stopped at Main Beach, just up near where SeaWorld is. And he goes, oh, I just need to stop for a second. I just feel really angry about what he said about the back seat or the boot of the car, and he was really angry and worked up. And he goes, "But I'm not angry." It's like he felt anger for something else. So he opens the boot of his car, and this car was relatively new. No one, he didn't know any girls with long brown hair, and there was a long brown hair inside the boot, just hanging.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then he dropped me off and messaged me, and he's like, "I feel like something's behind me," and he pulls his phone out of his back pocket and deleted a photo apparently. And then he called me back and said, "Oh, I don't think anything's here anymore." So he'd taken a photo of where the tunnel is. And so, we had that shared experience where, it got really cold. How they talk about when there's spiritual stuff happening, things are cold, there's that extreme cold, there's, whispers, sounds, all that sort of stuff happened. And then he had taken this photo, and once he deleted it, apparently everything was fine. But I remember that experience really distinctly because people go, "Oh, yeah, it just sounds like a shared hallucination." But being in the moment, it was actually really scary.
Yeah.
So I mean, people can believe what they want, but I can say, I think that is genuinely a haunted tunnel. And then other experiences, obviously, you get experiences doing readings. It wouldn't be ethical for me to talk about them, what happens in them. But, I've had experiences where I felt like I can't breathe and things like that you hear about. So, I mean, I'm definitely a believer because I've had a few things happen, like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you talk about shared experiences and shared psychosis because in a previous episode, I mean, I can't name her because I haven't got her permission and we haven't spoken for a good 8-9 years, but this particular friend of mine who I'll call Nicole, in 2009 we had 3 shared experiences together. One in the bush track near the Nambucca Heads High School, which had all these myths and legends about it, around this girl apparently on fire who would walk through this bush track at night. We didn't see that, but we saw this really weird, very bright light. And, we also had a shared dream of this, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a tree monster. But in my dream, I was walking down this nature track, and then this tree monster walked in front of me and said, "Hi, Justin, how are you?" And I woke up, and I was staying at my friend Nicole's house. She woke up at the same time. We did speak to each other. She started drawing, and she drew the exact same thing that I saw in my dream. And she said she dreamed this monster, but it was a different thing for her. This tree monster never actually said hello to her or anything, but she was terrified.
Gave her the cold shoulder instead.
Just we don't know how to explain it because the few people we've told, they've just been like, "Oh yeah, whatever. You guys were probably just smoking a shit ton of weed." It's yeah, we were, but
that's not the point. That's besides the point.
And we've seen other stuff too, which I mentioned in the previous episode, which was we were walking back to her house, and her house was on a bit of a incline, so we could see into her living room. I would maintain to this day, it's been 13 years, I saw a woman in a blue dress walk from her TV to the lounge area. She maintains that she saw a guy in a blue suit, not a dress. And before I could even tell her what I saw, she told me she saw a guy in a blue suit. So I was like, well, she's telling the truth, but I was arguing with her for a good 5-10 minutes, being like, "It's a woman in a blue dress."
I mean, they maybe didn't identify either.
Yeah, it could have easily been a guy in a blue dress, But her cat was perched on top of the staircase, like something had spooked it. And we've never been able to figure out what that was. I mean, my logical side was someone broke in, escaped through the back door, because, I mean, she claimed that she locked the back door, but I felt like she was one of those people that didn't actually lock her house or anything. And towards the back of her house, you can just jump over a small fence, and no one would know the wiser. But, that was 3 shared experiences with this one person. But even then, it seems like Coffs Harbour, Nambucca area seems to be an area where I've experienced the most paranormal activity compared to, say, Sydney or compared to other areas I've visited. But
Have you been to
I mean,
Tasmania? You need to go to Tasmania if you want to experience paranormal stuff.
I've heard about Tasmania. Yeah.
It's got all the
have you?
jails and things.
Have you experienced anything in Tasmania?
Well, I went there last year or the year before. I can't remember exactly when it was. It's all a big blur, because I was eating a lot of food and that was more my priority. But there's this old Kodak building, and they reckon that there's a spirit or a ghost or something that lives in there, and you see it in the window. I didn't know that, so I was, they're like, oh, the jails are all haunted and stuff, and I'm just grabbing, getting myself a steamed bun. I love a good steamed bun, and I look across the road and I'm like, who the fuck's that in the window? And then my partner goes, where? What are you talking about? I said, there was a man in the window. And then we went back to the place we were staying at, and I'd spoken to them about it, and they said, oh yeah, the Kodak ghost, yeah, everyone knows him. So, I mean, apparently Tasmania is, full of hauntings.
I'm not surprised. Tasmania's so isolated from everywhere else that it feels like, spirits can't necessarily be released elsewhere. They're just like confined to Tasmania. At least in Australia, they could go from New South Wales to Victoria or the Northern Territory if they wanted to.
Tasmania is Australia, right?
It's like,
You're like, edit that out.
One of my own paranormal experiences, which I had forgotten about until a couple of years ago when I was talking to an old friend about it. So there's a few walking tracks along the V-Wall area in Nambucca where all the painted rocks are and all that shit. But there's a specific nature area track that goes from the bottom of the V-Wall to the top of the headland where there's a lot of weddings that happen there and everything. But I used to get this very uneasy feeling even during the day. Don't know how to explain it, but one night my friends and I went drinking along the V-Wall and the beach. We weren't too particularly drunk. It was just more of a buzz as opposed to being like, full-blown drunk and whatnot. But we decided for some stupid reason to walk up this dark nature walk area to get to the top of the headland rather than spend an hour walking around it and trying to navigate like all the external boardwalks and all the hills where all the cars would come down and everything. Also, we were like 17, so we're trying to avoid the cops as well. And no phones had built-in torches. This was before iPhones had like that feature, or before Samsung even existed in the smartphone market. So
it's like Nokia days. This was Nokia days.
Actually, Motorola Razr days.
Are they those flip ones?
Yes.
I had a hip top, those like business slidey phones. I had one of those. I thought, you know what? Everyone's got this Razr thing. I'm going to have a hip top. I thought I was so good with it. But
I wanted one of those phones so badly.
I mean, they weren't that great. I mean, I should have just had a Motorola, just like everyone else.
But funny coincidence, actually. So we were relying on a friend's hip-top phone to guide us because it had the biggest screen. It wasn't too bright, but it was enough to like at least see any rocks or any hills, steps, all that shit. And at the time, I was too buzzed to be spooked per se, so I wasn't necessarily worried about uneasy feelings or whatnot. I was more trying to figure out how I wouldn't trip over or run out of breath because my lazy ass was not used to walking, up steep inclines and whatnot. But as we were just near the top towards a headland area, someone grabbed my arm and it was like this, like very pressured. I could feel each individual figure. And I thought, shit, we've left someone behind. So I turned around. No one was there. Everyone else was way ahead of me. They were already waiting at the top of this headland area. So I was like, someone's like hidden to the side to try and scare me or whatever. Because I was always known as like the ghost person of the group, like always talking about paranormal stuff, always dragging people to the cinema to watch horror movies. And when I got to the top, I told everyone about how someone grabbed my arm. And they're like, oh, bullshit, dude. It's probably just a tree branch that like hit you or whatever. And one friend, Daniel, believed me. And I was showing him, I was like, look, you can see the finger marks on my arm. Those are not my fingers. And he's like, no, dude, I know. I've seen some stuff when I've walked through here to like go get fish and chips or to go for a swim. But he never expanded on his experiences. So I didn't know what he saw. But
no, I believe that story. I felt when you were talking about it too, like, you know how you get that goosebumpy feeling when something's real?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, felt it.
It's something where if I still try to use my logical side of thinking in terms of, oh, it might have been a complete stranger in the woods who was trying to, like, take me or something. But even then, like, we did not hear anyone else in that nature trail. We didn't see anything. And I mean, towards like the top of the headland area, there was enough light to see, like, where you were walking and whatnot. So we weren't relying on a hip top phone or anything like that. But it's, even though it still weirds me out, it's not on the same level as, say, like shared dreams or shared paranormal experiences with my other friends around Nambucca at the time. I feel like all my experiences stem from like 2009 to like 2012, just around that area, with like some sightings in Sydney and whatnot sprinkled in, but it is what it is. But I do have to ask, I know you're from Coffs Harbour, but have you encountered anything spooky in like Nambucca, Coffs Harbour area?
My family lived at Sawtell. There was like the Sawtell golf course, and there was like houses across from it or something. When I was, I don't know, I was in like grade one or something, kindergarten, grade one. And my younger brother used to apparently get up in the middle of the night and he'd talk to a little boy. And he's like, the little boy was there and he wanted to play with him. And he'd go out and sit in we had a sand pit, and he'd go out there early in the morning at like 4 a.m. with this little boy apparently. And then he almost drowned at the pool, and he said that the little boy pushed him. So I remember that, actually.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so there was apparently a little boy in Sawtell. That's what the Sawtell thing was. It wasn't me personally, it was my younger brother. But he's alive, so it's okay. He's not dead.
I wasn't expecting a Sawtell story. For some reason, I was like, oh yeah, it'll be like Coffs Harbour or Urunga, or even what's that place north of Coffs Harbour? Starts with W.
Woolgoolga.
Yeah.
Woolgoolga. Yeah, I've heard some spooky stories from there. An old friend of mine I went to high school with, she lived in Woolgoolga for 2 years, and she claimed that every Friday night she would see the same spirit on, I don't know what street, I'm not really familiar with Woolgoolga that much, but it was like the corner of the main street that was opposite a school, and she would see like some kind of figure. It was always a shadow figure, but it looked like it was holding a stop sign.
Like a
Yeah, I'm getting
what do you
that.
call it, like one of those highway
Getting that
sign
vibe
things?
again. The real story vibe. I believe her story. And that shadow thing reminded me. And I know you didn't ask about Tamworth, but I just thought, oh my God, shit, I just remembered. When I was growing up, you know Tamworth, right? Country Music Festival.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I was born in Tamworth. So
Ah.
my grandparents lived there on like the main highway, Armadale Road or something. And it's like a real old house. And there was this cowboy. And I don't know if it's I think it's the cowboy thing. You know how sometimes objects can be haunted? There was this cowboy thing that she used to have, my nan used to have, because they were really into country music, just above the doorway that leads out to the bathroom. And I remember being little, and it could be a fear of just because you're little, but I remember we used to sleep on mattresses in the lounge room, and I'd go, oh man, I really need to go to the bathroom. And I'd look over, and I'd feel like someone was standing in the doorway underneath where that cowboy thing is. But that would only ever be around those hours between like 12 and 3 in the morning or something. Normally it'd be fine, but I'd always be like, there's something there. And I was always afraid to go to the toilet at night time because of that. In fact, there was a shadow there. The shadow thing kind of triggered that for me.
Tristan, thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime, anytime. Viewers, keep an eye out for new episodes each week. If you liked the episode, give us a comment, like, share, subscribe, tip, all that jazz, etc., etc. And if you hated this episode, go fuck yourself. Bye.
Bye.